Hi everyone, my name is Chloe, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be making a video around political representation and whether or not diversity is enough. On the whole, my main argument is that diverse political representation is not enough because these politicians are often very invested in the status quo. They have an individual rather than a community orientated mindset. And as a result, they are willing to play into white supremacy and to reinforce and create these imperialist, anti refugee policies and have a vested interest in war and who are funding these parties. There's also that aspect of what decisions they then are able to make, are going to make, are more likely to make. And I think that this topic is particularly important right now. As usual, please let me know what you think of this topic below. And don't forget to check out my other content and subscribe. So I guess starting off in this topic, we can really just have an idea or just pin down what political representation is. Political representation is generally discussed in terms of who makes up parliament, who is an MP, who has the ability to make decisions that impact our life on the day-to-day basis. As you're aware, a lot of these people are pale, male, and stale. Like the majority of society's institutions, political institutions are majority made up of cishet white men. And as a result, a lot of the politics, a lot of the policies, laws, and legislation that we see connects to those interests. And I kind of touched on this in my eugenics video. Eugenics is a lot more normalized as a mindset than I realized. And we're seeing a lot of that right now in terms of the culture wars around transgender people, trans rights, and gender expression. A lot of these discourses that we're also seeing online around gender roles and what a real man is, and all of these things tied together. It's interesting because we know that the media, which is very right-wing in this country, has a strong connection to the elite and wants to distract us, wants to divide us. I couldn't start off this topic without talking about recently elected Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. He went to Oxford University. He's also married to a businesswoman who is quite wealthy and has that type of generational wealth. Just to sort of break that down a little bit, to even get to that position, there's certain sort of ways of communicating and all that sort of thing that, as a person that is non-white, it makes it easier for him to kind of fit in those spaces, right? As a South Asian man. That access or right to movement, right to travel that his parents experienced that enabled him to be where he is today, right? He does not feel that other people deserve that. And I think that there is a classism in that. There is this kind of Western superiority as it's targeted towards people in the global South. Rishi definitely plays into these things. And on a more serious note, he recently announced a new plan for asylum. And in summary, he's making it harder for people who are fleeing, who are in very dangerous and horrific situations to seek asylum. Rishi Sunak's parents were born in Kenya. So there's a lot of history there. And I think it's very interesting, this dynamic of very wealthy, highly educated, racially marginalized people receiving a certain position, wanting that access, wanting the resources, but not having a mindset where they are community focused, which is something that you generally, which I associate with left-wing, communist, black feminist, abolitionist thinkers, right? Marxist thinkers, etc. And it's a capitalistic way of viewing things. And that's why diverse political representation is not enough. you're more focused on your situation, inevitably, your social position, your ability to have access to that power, and how people view you for having that position, as opposed to what you can do to help your people. But we know that Rishi would not think about uh, his community in that way. And just to hammer that in, my main point is that diverse political representation is not enough. Diverse, and when I'm saying diverse, I know diverse is a term, we know it has issues, okay? But really, what I'm saying is it could be diverse in terms of even class, but I think I'm mainly talking about racially diverse in this context, which is around going against that white, pale male and stale, and then a few white women chucked in, well, quite a few white women chucked in. Um, but yeah, it doesn't matter necessarily, even if they are left wing or right wing, if they benefit the status quo. And I think there's certain symbolism that is convenient, multiculturalism, and which I think sometimes is just tokenism, the way that these parties frame it. And it's funny because no matter how much Rishi can do to become as close to whiteness as they can through their career, through their lifestyle, through their behavior, their actions, the decisions they make, you still have, that viral video that went all over the internet of someone saying that Rishi is not British because Britishness is associated with whiteness. Like the Conservatives saying, oh, we're so much more diverse than the Labour Party. Meanwhile, you've got all these anti-refugee policies. You have that black female politician talking about critical race theory and how it's so evil and bad and all that sort of thing. So that's not enough if they are anti-us, is it? They're not for us, right? There are some politicians who have politics that aligns more with our interests, right? But there's even a conversation around that. Is it enough? We're in a moment where these diverse politicians are doing nothing to address the cost of living crisis. And we know who class-related issues mainly affects. That is black and brown folk, racially marginalised folk. And alongside that, they're best friends with millionaires. The Conservative Party recently took 11 million from the finance sector since the 2019 general election. These bankers, these hedge fund tycoons, then have a huge stake in what direction the Conservative Party is taking. So then, of course, that they will not be invested in addressing the cost of living crisis. And I sort of touched on this phenomenon of Conservative MPs, right? They are from racially marginalized communities, but, they show that racial diversity or diverse representation in politics is not enough because they enable this sort of racial gaslighting, and we do not share the same interests. And I think that is the central thing that I wanted to communicate in this video. Just because someone shares the same identity as me does not mean that they care about our community interests. They do not understand the concept of community. Like, for me, that is a central principle. It's interesting because the government already operates with a policy of deterrent around refugees, around migrants, right? And they recognize that thousands of people die each year trying to escape war, trying to flee abuse, famine, starvation, and they're okay with that, right? They try to manipulate by saying that these policies will stop people from coming to the UK, and, you know, these refugees, these migrants are to blame, and they will help us solve, our economic problem, the job market, the lack of opportunities. But they enforce this knowing that they are the reason for the division, for the rising gap between the rich and the poor. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my video. I've actually got some, if you can hear that bell, I've got some egg tart in the oven. So yeah, please comment below what you think, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.